Welcome to Hymns of Hope. It's good to have you listening and watching today. Today our hymn is Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. And this hymn we have chosen for our third granddaughter, Adeline. We sing it to her and sing it with her as much as we can. And we're going to be talking today about God's faithfulness.
The writer of this hymn is Robert Robinson. He was born into a very poor family in Norfolk, England, September 27th, 1735. He lived a very long time ago. And in the early part of his life, it was very discouraging. His father had left home and they didn't know where he was, and his mother couldn't really control him, and so his mother decided to send him to London, England to try and get some training. And when he went there, he found himself involved in gangs, involved in alcohol, and in fact, he and his buddies decided one night that they would go and try to tease George Whitefield, who was a great evangelistic preacher who is said to have had a voice with a megaphone and also sounded like a violin. Well, that night, Robinson recalls that he remembers thinking, this man is speaking right to me. And it was shortly after that Robert Robinson decided to give his life over to the Lord. And for about 3 years, he was serving in his church and became even the pastor of a church and began to write hymns. And on a Palm Sunday, he wrote this hymn, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, to remind us of God's faithfulness. The struggle is that later on in life, after about 5 or 6 years of serving the Lord, he fell away. He decided people discouraged him, and so he went on his own. And the story is that he was one day riding in a covered wagon in a carriage, and there was a lady there who had a hymn book in her lap, and she happened to be singing a hymn. And that hymn was this very hymn, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. When she got finished singing the hymn, she happened to look at him and noticed there was a bit of a tear in his eye. And she asked him, what do you think of this hymn? And Robert Robinson said to her, Madam, I am that poor unhappy man who wrote that hymn many years ago, and I would give 1,000 worlds if I had them to enjoy the feelings that I had then. Well, it turns out they began to talk, and he was encouraged to get back into ministry, and he finished his life serving the Lord, being a pastor in a Baptist church in Sussex, England, and served the Lord faithfully, and it's quite amazing. This morning, our passage of Scripture reminds us of God's faithfulness.
And this is Lamentations chapter 3, verses 22 through 24. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness.
In the second verse of this hymn, there's a word that is called Ebenezer. And this word Ebenezer reminds us of God's faithfulness. It's from 1 Samuel chapter 7, verse 12, where a stone was set in place to remind us that God is always faithful. And so today we remember, and we remind you to remember, that God has been faithful to you. And so that means that we can be faithful to God. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mount I'm fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love. Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I'm come. interposed his precious blood. Oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy grace, Lord, like a fetter, bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above. May God bless you. Have a great day.